The air was dry, heavy with dust, chains rattled, dozens of humans stood in silence, eyes lowered, waiting like condemned souls. Among them, one young man, ordinary at first glance, yet something about him drew every gaze. Then she appeared, tall, skin dark as obsidian, ears sharp, eyes colder than steel. Every step she took silenced the murmurs. An alien woman, powerful, deliberate. She stopped before the young man. Her hand lifted his wrist, turning his palm, tracing the veins like reading a secret written under the skin. Then her eyes locked on his. Her voice cut through the air. "Tell me, are you capable of giving life?" The crowd froze. The question was not desire. It was judgment. The young man's chest tightened. He couldn't breathe. Around him, other alien nobles shifted, eyes burning with greed. They knew what this meant. If the woman was right, this man was not just a slave. He was a prize. The woman released his wrist, but her gaze never wavered. "Answer carefully," she said, her tone like a blade pressed to the throat. "Your future ends here, or it begins with me." Silence. Every ear strained for his reply. Every eye hungered for the outcome, and the chains around his arms suddenly felt heavier than iron. A ripple spread through the crowd. Whispers. Laughter. Envy. One alien noble, a towering male with a belly like a throne, stepped forward. His voice rolled like thunder. "He belongs to me." Another, a jeweled woman with silver eyes, sneered. "No, his blood will strengthen my line. Step aside." Chains rattled as the young man was yanked forward, displayed like meat at a market. His pulse pounded, but he said nothing. His silence only made them hunger more. The dark-skinned woman raised a hand, a signal, calm, yet sharp enough to cut through their chaos. "He is not for your amusement," she said coldly. "He is chosen." The fat noble laughed. "Chosen? Everything here has a price, even him." The others roared in agreement. Their greed was a fire, spreading fast. The young man's heart sank. He realized something. They weren't arguing about if he would be taken. They were arguing about who would own him. A woman behind him whispered through cracked lips, "Don't speak. Whatever you say will seal your fate." The dark-skinned alien leaned closer, her breath cold against his ear. "Do you hear them? They will fight for you, but only I can protect you." Her words slipped into him like poison and promise combined. And then she smiled. "But protection has a cost. When the time comes, you will give me what I ask." The man's skin crawled, because in her eyes there was no desire, no kindness, only calculation, and somewhere deep inside him a truth began to rise, a truth he did not want to face. He was not human to them. He was a seed, a weapon, a future, and futures are never free. The chains fell. For the first time, the young man's wrists were free. His skin burned where the iron had bitten him, yet a flicker of hope stirred. The alien woman leaned close. Her whisper slid like a blade under his skin. "You walk now, but remember, your freedom is borrowed." Guards pushed him forward. The market behind them dissolved into dust and murmurs. Ahead, narrow streets twisted between crumbling walls, shadows swallowing the light. Beside him shuffled another prisoner, a gaunt man, eyes sunken but voice soft. "She chose you," the man said. "That means you might live." "Don't waste it," the young man wanted to believe. For a heartbeat, he almost did. Then, the ambush. A sudden shove. His ally, the gaunt man, slammed him into the wall. A knife pressed against his throat. The betrayal was quick, merciless. "Forgive me," the gaunt man hissed. "I promised them your life." "It was the only way to save my own." The young man froze, his chest turned to ice. So this was freedom? A hand extended only to drag him deeper. From the shadows, other figures emerged. Alien nobles, cloaked in greed, their eyes glimmered with hunger. They had been waiting. The alien woman stepped forward, her gaze calm, almost amused. Did you think escape was possible? Her words cut deeper than any blade. This isn't freedom. This is the next move. The gaunt man trembled, knife still against his throat, but she didn't even glance at him. She only watched the young man, as if the betrayal itself had been her design all along. The truth hit him like stone. There was no escape. There never had been. He was not running from their game. He was the game. The room was dim, lit only by a thin blue glow seeping from the walls. No chains, no guards, just her and him. The alien woman sat opposite, posture regal, eyes unblinking. She studied him as one might study an animal before deciding whether it was dangerous or useful. You should hate me, she said calmly. The young man's jaw tightened. I do. She leaned forward, voice dropping to a whisper. And yet you will need me. He laughed bitterly, though his chest was heavy. Need you? You dragged me out in chains. You paraded me like cattle. Her smile was thin, sharp. Cattle do not command bidding wars. Cattle are not fought over by nobles who crave power. She paused, letting her words sink in. You are more. And that is why you're mine. His throat clenched. Mine? You think you own me? Her gaze hardened. No, I know I do, but ownership is not my gift to you. My gift is survival. The silence pressed down on him. Then she spoke the words that froze his blood. I will protect you from them. But in return, you will give me what I want. He swallowed. And what is that? Her eyes gleamed. Children. Stronger than you. Stronger than me. Stronger than anything this world has seen. The weight of her demand crushed him. His heart raced, torn between terror and a twisted pull he couldn't explain. There was something intoxicating in her certainty, something that both repelled him and drew him closer. His voice cracked. And if I refuse? She leaned so close he could feel the chill of her breath. Then you die. And worse, your death will mean nothing. But with me, you will be remembered through blood, through legacy. He wanted to scream, to spit in her face, but in the pit of his chest, a darker truth whispered. Part of him wanted to believe her, and that part terrified him most of all. The silence shattered with a roar. Walls trembled. Shadows spilled into the chamber. Armed figures, armored in black, eyes burning like coals. The young man's pulse spiked. He knew at once. These weren't saviors. They were predators. One of them hissed in a guttural tongue, blade flashing in the dim light. Another pointed at him, lips curling with hunger. They had come for him. Before he could move, the woman rose. No hesitation, no fear. Her arm slashed the air, and the first attacker's body hit the wall with a sickening crack. Bones shattered like glass. Mine! She hissed, her voice inhuman, resonating through the stone. The hunters didn't flinch. More poured in, weapons clashing against the floor, closing around him like wolves. The boy stumbled back, heart pounding. For a moment, he saw death in every direction. Then something strange stirred inside him, heat coiling in his veins, as if his blood itself rebelled against fear. One hunter lunged. The boy raised his hands instinctively. And the air exploded. The attacker flew backward, skull caving against the stone wall. He froze, his breath ragged. I did that. The woman's head snapped toward him. Her eyes widened, then narrowed with something close to triumph. Yes, she whispered. It begins. The chamber drowned in screams, steel against flesh, blood splattering the walls. She moved like a storm, tearing hunters apart, not to protect him, but to keep her prize from being stolen. And through the chaos, the boy felt it growing stronger. That heat, that power. It wasn't just survival anymore. It was awakening. He looked at his trembling hands, slick with another man's blood. Am I their prey or their nightmare? The boy's wrists still ached from the chains that had only recently been struck away. His breath fogged in the cold night air as they moved through the ruined alleys, guided by the one face he thought he could trust. Whispers of hunters echoed behind them. The woman had vanished into the shadows, leaving him with the man he had once called brother. At least I'm not alone, he told himself. But then the hand that gripped his shoulder tightened, too hard, too sharp. He turned and saw the knife. Not raised against their pursuers, against him. The man's smile was wrong, stretched thin, almost apologetic. They promised me freedom if I delivered you, he said. You don't understand what you're worth. To them, to all of us. The boy's chest hollowed, a pit opening inside him. Betrayal was a colder blade than steel. After everything, his voice cracked, you'd hand me over? The other's eyes flickered with shame, then hardened. Better you than me. In the distance, torches flared. Alien hunters were closing in. The deal was real, the betrayal complete. The boy staggered back, rage and disbelief colliding inside him. The power he'd barely begun to touch whispered in his veins, begging to be unleashed. But a darker thought coiled tighter. If even he turns on me, who's left? Who can I trust? The answer came in silence. No one. The hunters' torches burned out one by one, smothered in a darkness not of this world. The boy didn't remember moving his hands, but the air rippled, shuddered, as if reality itself bowed to him. The betrayer fell to his knees, trembling. What are you? The boy couldn't answer. His pulse roared like thunder. His veins ached with fire. For the first time, he felt it. Something vast inside him, something older than chains, older than conquest. Then she appeared. The alien woman, eyes like burning coals, lips curved with satisfaction. Finally, she whispered, you've begun to wake. He staggered back. You knew. Of course I knew. Why else would I protect you? Why else would I choose you from the herd? Her voice was silk over steel. You will father children whose blood can shatter empires. Their veins will carry fire and storm. And I... She leaned closer, shadows twisting around her figure. I will own that legacy. His chest clenched. Part of him wanted to believe she was savior, the only one who'd shielded him from slaughter. But another voice hissed louder. Not savior. Master. Not love. Leash. The boy's chains were gone, but the weight was heavier than ever. He whispered, almost to himself, am I free, or am I just another slave? She smiled and said nothing. Night fell heavy, but the city did not sleep. From the ruined rooftops to the dust-choked alleys, shadows moved with purpose. Hunters, rebels, spies. The boy felt them all, like heat pressing against his skin. The alien woman stood at his side, closer than ever, her hand hovering near his wrist, not in comfort, but in claim. They will come for you, she said softly. All of them. But remember, without me, you are nothing but raw fire. Uncontrolled fire destroys itself. Before he could reply, the ground shook with the march of armored feet. The rival lords of the alien elite had arrived, grotesque, towering figures draped in wealth and cruelty. Their voices clashed in the night. The breeder is ours. No, his blood belongs to the Empire. The boy's heart hammered. Chains had been replaced by something worse. Destiny. He saw the hunger in their eyes, the same hunger that burned in hers. And then the first spear of light split the street. Screams. Blood. The war of shadows had begun. He fought without knowing how, instinct guiding his hands, the world itself bending around him. Walls buckled, air screamed, enemies fell, but every strike he landed only deepened the silence between him and her. She watched him, proud and possessive, yet something colder lingered in her gaze. Not love, not mercy. A ledger being tallied. The boy gasped, trembling, his power leaving scorched scars in the earth. Am I a weapon to them, or to you? He demanded. Her answer was a whisper drowned by chaos. Both. The battlefield still smoked. Bodies, alien and human, lay scattered like broken dolls. The boy stood in the center, chest heaving, hands trembling with a power that would not rest. Around him, whispers spread like fire. The child-bearer, the bloodline, the weapon. He wanted to scream at them, to tear the chains of their voices away. But the chains weren't on his wrists anymore. They were inside him. Destiny, prophecy, demand. The woman approached, her dark form cutting through the haze, her eyes gleaming with hunger and promise. You see now, don't you? She murmured. You were never meant to be free. You were meant to be chosen. He shook his head, rage and despair twisting together. Chosen by who? By you? By them? I never asked for this. Her voice was almost tender, but the words were iron. Destiny doesn't ask permission. It takes. The boy clenched his fists. Flames licked at his skin, shadows bending toward him as if kneeling. He felt the truth pressing in. He could burn the world if he wished. But was that power his, or only another set of chains? Behind them, the betrayer's voice echoed weakly from the dust. You can't fight it. You'll end up theirs. One way or another, the boy's heart pounded. Freedom and slavery blurred into one. Every path led to blood, and yet, deep inside, another thought flickered like forbidden light. What if destiny itself could be broken? The night pulsed with silence after the war. The boy's chest still burned, but his eyes no longer carried fear. They carried decision. The alien woman stood near, cloak torn, face smeared with ash, her beauty darker than ever. She reached for him as if he were hers already. Come, you are stronger now. Together we will forge the future. But he stepped back. For the first time, not as a prisoner, not as prey, but as something else. No, he said, his voice shaking yet sharp. The future isn't yours to write, and it isn't mine to be chained into her gaze hardened, but beneath it flickered a shadow of surprise. You would rebel against destiny itself? He spread his hands. Fire and shadow surged, not wild anymore, but guided, shaped by his will. The street cracked, the air screamed. Even the betrayer, bleeding in the dust, whispered in awe. Then hear me, the boy growled. If I am cursed to bring forth blood that can shatter empires, I'll use that curse my way. Not for you, not for them, for me. The woman's smile returned, slow, dangerous. Rebellion, she said softly. At last. But her eyes glimmered with something he couldn't yet read. Admiration, or a deeper trap. The boy felt chains falling away, invisible links snapping one by one. Yet with every chain broken, another battlefield loomed ahead. He had defied her, defied them, defied prophecy itself. But rebellion always has a cost, and he had just begun to pay. The rebellion burned in his chest like a second heart, but the world wasted no time in answering it. The alien lords did not scatter, they converged. From the ruins their soldiers rose, armored beasts snarling with hunger. The night filled with steel and screams again, only this time their fury was doubled. And the woman, she did not lift a hand to stop them. She only watched. Her eyes traced him the way a master studies a weapon, testing its strength through battle. He fought. Flames curled from his fists, shadows bent to his will, walls crumbled at his command. Enemies fell, but so did allies, those chained humans he had sworn to protect. Their cries cut through him deeper than any blade. One girl, no older than he had once been, reached for him with bloodied fingers. "Save us," she begged, but when he turned, she was already gone, trampled, swallowed by chaos. The boy's knees buckled. His power had grown, yes, but so had the destruction it carried. Was this rebellion, or just another kind of slaughter? From the smoke, the woman's voice slithered to him. "You see? Every choice demands blood. You defy me, you defy them. Yet the ones who die are neither me nor them. They are yours." Her words carved into him like poison. Freedom had a cost, and it was being paid in lives he could not save. His fists shook, his throat raw with grief and rage. "Then I'll pay it all," he whispered, broken but unyielding. "Every drop, but I will never belong to you." The woman only smiled, chilling, victorious, because even in defiance she could see it. The chains still held, invisible but unbroken. The fires died to embers, leaving silence heavy as stone. The boy staggered, his body torn, his spirit heavier still. And then she stepped forward, no longer cloaked in shadow, no longer veiling her intent. Her face was the same, yet not. The softness vanished. The mask was gone. "Do you still not see?" she asked, her voice low, dangerous in its calm. "You were never chosen. You were bred." The boy froze. "What?" She circled him slowly, every word cutting deeper. "Your bloodline has been shaped for centuries. Wars, massacres, selective survival, all of it by design. I am not your savior. I am the hand that wrote your fate." His heart thundered. Every chain, every whisper of destiny, it had never been prophecy. It had been control. "You made me this?" His voice cracked with horror. She leaned close, her breath cold against his ear. "I didn't make you. I perfected you. And soon when your children rise, their power will not be yours. It will be mine." The boy staggered back, bile rising in his throat. He wanted to scream, to strike her down, but her eyes glowed with something he feared more than power: certainty. Behind them, the surviving lords knelt, not to him, but to her. The rebellion had never been his. It had always been hers. The boy's skin chilled, his blood curdled. For the first time, true terror seized him, not because he was powerless, but because his power might never belong to him at all. The boy's breath came in shudders, each one sharper than the last. The world around him blurred, faces of the dead, chains rattling in memory, the alien woman's words echoing like knives. Bred, perfected, owned. He pressed his palms to his temples as if he could crush the voices out, as if denial could erase truth. But the truth was carved into his veins. His very blood was not his own. The survivors stared at him with reverence, with fear, with need. Some whispered his name like a prayer, others spat it like a curse. None saw him as human. And in her gaze, always her gaze, there was no mercy. Only possession, only. He dropped to his knees, bile clawing at his throat. "If every choice is yours, if even my birth was yours." His voice cracked, almost broken. Then what am I? Her silence was worse than cruelty. Rage surged, grief followed, then rage again. He slammed his fists into the ground, and the earth itself screamed. Cracks tore through stone, fire erupted from the fractures, and the air split with a sound that froze every watching heart. The woman only smiled. You are mine. The boy's vision blurred. Tears or blood, he couldn't tell. The weight of destiny crushed his chest. For the first time, he wanted to give in, to collapse, to let it all consume him. This was the breaking point. And in that abyss, only one truth remained. If he surrendered now, the world would end chained. The battlefield lay in ruins. Smoke hung low, clinging to broken walls and shattered bodies. The air carried the metallic sting of blood and burnt stone. He stood in the middle of it all, unbound, but trembling. His chest heaved, his veins burning as if fire had replaced his blood. And then it began. His vision fractured, faces from nowhere flickering in his mind. Voices, not his own, speaking in a language too old for stars. A deep vibration rattled through his bones. Something ancient inside him, long buried, tore its way free. The woman, his captor, his protector, watched with eyes wide. For the first time, she wasn't in control. She whispered, almost reverent, "You're awakening." The ground cracked beneath his feet. A storm of light burst from his body, hurling aside the corpses and debris like paper in a gale. His scream wasn't human. It was the roar of a lineage designed to overthrow empires. The hunters who had survived the slaughter froze. Some fell to their knees. Others fled. None dared approach. But power comes with hunger. And in that blinding surge, he felt it. Something whispering inside, promising dominion, urging him to rise higher, to claim, to devour. For a heartbeat, he believed he could destroy everything, or save everything. And in the silence after the storm, he knew one truth. His life was no longer his own. The empires had ruled for centuries, their thrones carved from fear and blood. But tonight, cracks spread across every pillar of power. The boy, no longer just a boy, walked through the ruins with fire still flickering in his eyes. Chains once forged to hold him now melted at his feet. His very breath was rebellion. The woman appeared beside him, silent, watching. Her face unreadable, torn between awe and terror. She had wanted his power. Now, she feared it. Above them, the sky tore open. The great council of rulers descended, cloaked in shimmering armor, voices booming like gods. They demanded his submission, his obedience to order. He laughed, a sharp, broken laugh that carried across the battlefield. "You built your thrones on bones," he said, his voice deepened by something not entirely human. "Now you will choke on the ashes." The storm inside him rose again. Cities trembled. Thrones, golden, jeweled, untouchable, shattered like glass. The rulers screamed as their crowns burned, their voices swallowed in the roar of collapsing empires. But destruction brought no peace. With each throne that fell, the hunger within him grew louder. Power whispered, "More. Take more." And for the first time, he realized the true enemy might not be them. It might be himself. Might be. Silence followed the collapse, but it wasn't peace. It was the pause before something worse. He stood among the ruins, chest rising and falling, eyes glowing with a light that wasn't his own anymore. The people who once cheered now looked at him with fear. Mothers pulled children back. Old men whispered prayers. The woman stepped closer, her voice low, trembling. "This is what I warned you of. Power doesn't serve. It devours." He turned toward her, jaw clenched. I didn't ask for this, he growled. No, she said, but it chose you. And now it wants more inside him, a fire coiled, whispering promises, dominion, immortality, worship. He felt it clawing at his veins, urging him to crush everything, to become the throne rather than destroy it. He closed his fists, trembling. If he gave in, he would become the monster they feared. If he resisted, the hunger might tear him apart from the inside. Around him, shadows moved. Survivors, rebels, and enemies alike, all staring, waiting, deciding whether he was savior or executioner. And in that suffocating silence, he realized the next choice would decide not only his fate, but the fate of every world. The ground still trembled from what he unleashed. Smoke curled from broken walls, carrying the stench of blood and ash. Every gaze was fixed on him, half worship, half terror. The alien woman's eyes burned. Decide, she whispered. Give me the future you carry, or keep it and let it consume you. His breath shook. Inside, the power roared like a beast, demanding he surrender, promising him kingdoms carved from bone and fire. A rebel leader stepped forward, voice shaking. If you bow to her, you damn us all. If you fight her, you damn yourself. The words sank like knives. He could already feel it, the hunger inside him gnawing, stretching. If he resisted too long, it would rip him apart. If he gave in to her deal, he would live. But as a prisoner to destiny not his own. His hands lifted slowly, as though weighed down by invisible chains. Everyone leaned forward. A single word, yes or no, would redraw the line between life and annihilation. But instead of answering, he smiled. And in that smile was something terrifying, the realization that perhaps there was a third path, a path that would damn everyone. Silence weighed heavier than chains. The crowd waited, breathless, certain he would kneel or rebel, but he did neither. I won't choose your path, he said, voice low but cutting like glass. Not yours, not theirs. Mine. The alien woman's expression cracked, shock, then fury. There is no third path, she hissed. Every story ends in obedience or ruin. He stepped closer, and for the first time, her composure faltered. His presence carried something beyond strength, something untamed, impossible to measure. The power inside him wasn't meant to be inherited, traded, or controlled. It was born to break systems. Then I'll end the story itself, he whispered. Gasps rippled. The rebel leader dropped his weapon, realizing what that meant. This wasn't rebellion. This was collapse. The chains on the prisoners shattered, not from mercy, but from the surge radiating out of him. Buildings cracked, shadows bled across the sand, and the alien aristocrats shrieked as their dominion crumbled. The woman lunged, desperate, trying to bind him with her promise. But his eyes glowed with revelation. You thought I'd be your savior or your slave, he said. I'll be neither. And with one motion, he tore open a rift, a door to something no one had ever seen, not even her. A place beyond their wars, beyond their gods. Terror and awe mingled in every heart. Because they understood, a third path meant no rules, no future, only what he decided to create in that instant. The rift roared like a living thing, dragging the desert into its void. Every stone, every scream seemed to bend toward its hunger. The young man stood at the edge, his body trembling, his veins burning with the power he never asked for. Around him, the freed prisoners cried for salvation, while the alien aristocrats shrieked in rage, their empire collapsing in real time. The woman, the one who had promised him salvation for a price, reached out. Her voice cracked, not with command, but with desperation. Choose me. Give me the child I asked for, and you will live. Refuse, and this power will eat you alive." He looked at her, and for the first time, he pitied her. She was not a goddess, not a savior. She was just another slave, bound by her hunger, her fear of being forgotten. The rebel leader's voice cut through the storm. "If you leap, you save us. If you stay, you damn us. But either way, none of us are free without a price." The boy smiled faintly, tears stinging his eyes. Freedom was never meant to be pure. It was always meant to hurt. And then, without another word, he stepped into the rift. The world split open, light consumed him. When the rift closed, silence fell. The desert looked the same, but nothing truly was. The chains lay broken, the empire shattered, the slaves free. But no one raised their voices in triumph. Their savior was gone, dissolved into something larger than life. The alien aristocrats who survived limped away, their power drained. Some vowed to rebuild, but all carried terror in their eyes, for they had witnessed a force beyond control. The woman stood alone, the wind tugging at her dark robes. She had wanted to own him, to bind him, to take his blood for her lineage. Now she had nothing but the memory of the boy who denied her. Her whisper barely carried. "He belongs to no one. Not to me, not to them, not even to himself." The rebels turned to her, uncertain whether to kill her or spare her, but she was already broken, haunted by the one truth none of them could escape. Freedom had been bought, but the cost was eternal. Above them, the sky still flickered where the rift had been, like a scar on reality. And in that scar, some swore they could still hear his voice. Not a scream, not a prayer, but a promise that shadows never die.